All right. Good evening, everybody. It is Friday night fellowship. It is Friday night once again as I do the old quick switch of my glasses here to put on the ones that work better on the screen over here. Good evening. I hope everybody's doing all right tonight. It's Friday night. It's the end of the week, the work week for most. Some may work this weekend. I don't know. Saturdays. Some work Saturdays. Labor Day, I know people might have it off next week. Some have a long weekend. I hope everybody's doing well out there. I guess it's getting colder in some areas as we head into the end of August. Good evening, Prof. Gal. Hello. It's getting to that point where it gets colder in some of the northeast areas in the north, but thankfully I'm still in the southern area, so it works for me. So I hope everyone is enjoying the sunshine and down here anyways, but nice song on intro. Thank you. I have not thrown up a instrumental piano classic in quite a long time, so yeah, thought I'd throw that one in there, throw that into the mix, something different. Amen. Yes. So every once in a while I like to throw something in, a little monkey wrench into things and go off a different direction, because usually I have either southern gospel or some bluegrass kind of background style instrumental, but I haven't listened to some good piano music in quite a while, so there you go. I still hear the background music, new style. I'm sorry, are you saying it's still on? Are you guys still hearing it? Oh, sorry about that. It was still playing, I believe, in the background. So sorry about that. I did not know it was still playing. I thought it was gone. But it's, again, great. That threw me off for a little bit. But it's good to be here. A little tired today. It's been a long week. So they changed my hours, or I should say they asked me to come at a different time earlier in the morning. And usually I'm up later in the evening doing research and stuff like that. But what are you going to do? So get shorter sleep. But at least I don't have to work tomorrow. So I'll get maybe an extra hour of sleep tomorrow. Brother Jorge, how are you this evening? Brother Calvin, how are you this evening? I hope you guys are doing all right up there. Sister Prov Gal, I know how you're doing. So it's got to be getting colder up there, Brother Jorge. I'm guessing it's got to be getting a little, I mean, maybe not by a lot, but we are at the end of August here. And being a former New Englander myself, it's a little chilly. It's a little bit cold. But down here in the south, the weather's still decent. Even down here, though, it's getting in Tennessee, it's getting a tiny bit cooler. Not a super lot cooler, but a little bit cooler. Hey, so I want to talk briefly. I feel in the morning. Feels perfect. You like the cool air. It is cooler in the morning here in Tennessee. I will say that, but it warms up a little bit. So I'm digging that. That's for sure. But hey, I want to talk about discernment. I'll keep on interrupting myself. It's okay. For a long time, the temps has dropped a bit. Yeah, but still hot here in Florida. Yeah, definitely. It's just that morning before the sun hits, and then it's doing all right. But I wanted to briefly talk about discernment, and something I thought about for a while. So, and Brother Cal, I talked about briefly discernment last week, I think. Brother Calvin was talking about it as well. But for a long time, I grew up Pentecostal, but it's just not in the Pentecostal church, but different ones. Discernment was always preached as a gift, and that was always an era. It wasn't a gift, so to speak, because all of us have discernment. We all have the ability to evaluate, to judge or make a judgment, and I think that's important. So there's a few scriptures I want to go over, and y'all can throw in any you want at any point in time, and we'll definitely take a look at them. I know some folks like to get it up on the computer screen, but and maybe I will a little down the road, but I still like just opening up the Bible. I think it's a good habit. I think it's a habit you shouldn't lose, but that's me. All right, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 10. I'm going to slowly get here. I don't have the pages marked. Yeah, I don't. Maybe I should be more professional and mark them, but I don't. 12:10. Oh, let's get there. In your King James Bible, obviously. To another, the working of miracles. Now, obviously, this is the section about spiritual gifts. Now, to another, the working of miracles. To another, prophecy. To another, discerning of spirits. Now, that's the part I look at. I think that has been used to say that only certain people get the spiritual gift of discernment. And I would have to disagree with that. Now, you can have a high level discernment, a low level discernment. It all depends on where you are and how you discern things. Discerning of spirits is a gift, while discernment in and of itself is sorely lacking today. And there's a few reasons why. But discerning the spirits is just really seeing if someone is speaking from the Holy Spirit, demonic spirits, or just their own human inflection into that judgment and that discerning. And I think that's what happens when we look at things like Matthew chapter 16. Matthew chapter 16, verse 3, I think, or 4. I'm not sure. But it wasn't about discernment by itself, only by itself. It was discerning of spirits. So I think it's important, and that's my opinion. That's important to look at it that way instead of thinking that certain people have the gift of discernment and other people aren't able to discern at all. They're not allowed to. It's not a gift that they're given. And you think I'm being far-fetched when I say that, but the teaching does exist. People are teaching that type of thing over the years. Whether you be Pentecostal, Baptist, a lot of people say these things, and it's unfortunate. And some hold themselves up to be the only ones who can do it. 16 and verse 3. And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the sign of the times? To me, this is about spiritual blindness. It's because they're looking at it from their perspective, the world, how their traditions or religions, or they have a spiritual blindness because it's not from God. They're not seeking the wisdom of God. They're not allowing that to happen. They're not praying for that. And I think that's what happens is without the prayer for it, because you need to pray for wisdom, because we can't discern certain things by ourselves spiritually without prayer, which is in Proverbs. Oh boy. Proverbs 2. I'm going to go to Proverbs chapter 2. I'm flying all over the place, but again, if you guys can think of a verse, I'll pull that up and I'll read that one. Proverbs 2. Let's see, 5. No, 6. Oh, 6. Proverbs 2, chapter 2, verse 6. For the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. It's from God. So we're praying for wisdom. Sometimes we are fooled. Sometimes, I think we talked about this last week, sometimes we allow ourselves to be fooled. Sometimes we rather be fooled instead of seeking the truth. Sometimes God allows us and kind of lets us get into situations and kind of blocks that discernment for his own purpose and use for us down the road. So those things have to happen, but being prayerful and never stopping is, I think, important. Continue to pray for wisdom, because we are often, and I think even more so today, we are falling for things, or things appear to be good. The outward appearance of things seem to be good, but we're not really discerning the truth. We we want what I used to say. We want what we want, and sometimes we allow our natural man, our flesh, to look at these things and make decisions when we're not taking a step back and saying, Lord, I need you to guide me. I need you to show me. I need the Spirit to put me in the right direction. We instead rely on our own vices, which I think can be dangerous sometimes. And I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think we all tend to have that happen at different times and different occasions. I know I'd have. Sometimes you allow that to overtake what you know is improper and that you should be praying, which we don't do enough. I'll be the first one to admit I don't do enough. I don't think, again, once you say that you pray enough, I think you don't pray enough. You have to keep on going. Brother Calvin, 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14. But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. When you're born again, sometimes you don't discern right away. But if you're born again, you will eventually. Your eyes will be open because you will see the truth. Because sometimes, even if you're a saved person, there are things you look at and go, oh, that seems pretty good. I like the way he approaches it. I like what he's saying. But at the end of the day, and this is the complicated part sometimes, we're not able to hold most people accountable because we don't get to see them. And same thing with me. A lot of folks here that watch me aren't going to know me, are never going to know who I am in real life. They're not going to see me on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis or see me out in public. So they've got to be prayerful and be discerning, like, oh, this guy Steve seems okay, but I don't know. I'm not sure. And I think that's a good thing. To question me or anyone else that we watch, you have to question that, because they may teach some good, decent things here and there, but are they truly right with God? And are they putting just a little bit of poison? And I don't know where I heard this before, so I apologize. I think it might have been from my brother, from a guy named Chick Salaby, I think, and I could be wrong. But it was basically, and I'm going to, I guess, paraphrase it. He said, the thing about mistruths or being so close to the truth and little off, and we talked about leaven and unleavened, a tiny bit of poison won't kill you right away, but it'll kill you over time. And I think that's important to know, because poison, just tiny bit at a time, it messes with your body, right? It messes with your internal organs, but tiny little mistruths, a little here, a little there, you don't see the effects right away, but it is slowly is spiritually killing you. And I think that happens a lot, because there's a lot of things, and then there's these little tiny things, and then you're 4 years down the road and you're looking. I'm just using a year. I don't know anybody. I wasn't watching personally. I wasn't watching anybody for 4 years and then finally figured it out. I'm not saying it's a bad thing somebody had. I'm just saying, I'm just using that as an example. 4 years. I don't know why I picked 4. That's the number. Because some people go, why 4? What's the meaning behind it? Well, did you know something for 4? I'm just saying a certain amount of time. You're going along, and you're 4 years in, and one day you're like, something ain't right. I think he's a hypocrite. Didn't he once say, but now he says? And those things, and that's what happens. Hypocrites and liars, they will eventually expose themselves. And it's very frustrating to a lot of people when they don't see that person expose themselves immediately. The decon rat poison analogy is a good one. 99.5% nutritious food, 0.05% poison kills a rat every time. Yeah, But that's what happens. It's just a little bit, just a tiny bit. And sometimes it'll grow. And sometimes it's a little more and a little more. But you're so into this for 4 years or 5 years. You're so into this preacher or this pastor or this teacher or this theologian or this whatever it may be, this scholar or this elitism. You're so far in, it's like, oh my goodness. And part of you doesn't want to admit to yourself that you were wrong. That's one of the toughest things. And as a male, it's even harder for men than it is for women. We have a tough time going, man, I'm wrong. Wow. But we'll see these good things. And I'm not saying that the things aren't good that are happening underneath this teacher or preacher or theologian or so on. But over time, you slowly see something, and something doesn't make sense. And it could be that person has just become a fallen person. They have fallen away. They're backslidden themselves. It's quite possible. But sometimes they give you just enough deception with just enough truth that you buy in. And we don't use the discernment that we do have, because we all have discernment. We all have the ability to discern. But sometimes we allow things to cloud our discernment and how we see things, because we see something that sometimes on a superficial level looks good to us, whatever it may be. Maybe there's a preacher or a teacher who has hot rod cars on his back wall, or he's got a 55 Chevy Bel Air model or 57 Chevy Bel Air. And you're like, oh, I love Bel Airs. Those are cool. And this guy talking about God and stuff. And what the problem is, a lot of these things they're superficial, you know. As most of you know who have followed me, this sign behind me. First time I put up that sign. I very rarely have. I mean, I've told this before. I've had books in my background, which I never liked doing, but because of the spatial areas that I've had in the past and setups, it's the only place to put it. But make no mistakes about it. There are things put up behind people for a reason. Just like a church that you go to, it's set up a particular way for a reason. People set up their YouTube backgrounds for a particular reason most of the time. And that's why originally, before I put that up, I wanted a plane behind me, but then I put that sign up. So I guess, for a particular reason, because my particular reason is two. One, I like it because my boys gave it to me. They bought it for me at the flea market up in Sevierville, Tennessee. So that's one. Two, we should all be putting on the armor. Just that simple. My unprofessional drink of water. There was another verse I wanted to go to. It was Matthew 16:13. I wrote it down. I already went to that, so we already talked about that. Not that I agree with any Calvinistic theology, but Calvin said the following in a sermon. Discernment is not a matter of simply telling the difference between right and wrong. Rather, it is telling the difference between right and almost right. And there is definitely some truth to that, because there are things that are just so close. They're right there. I talk about things like guys at pastor persona. My biggest pet peeve right now, and I had a month off, and I really got to dive into some stuff and different YouTube channels, because I just don't have time normally to watch. Unless I watch a couple people, they're usually kind of even way too long for me, even though I talk a lot. And I found a disturbing trend, in my opinion. I'm looking at King James guys out there, and I wonder if they know they're making us look crazy. Not a peculiar people. That's a difference. But they make us look crazy, because not all of us King James Bible believing Christians are getting wacky out there. But I see some guy, and this is why I think the King James Onlyist camp gets a bad name, because you got some guys who I question are legit at all, or legit now, maybe they were one time, and they spew such hatred. And I'm thinking, what in the world? And that's when we also use discernment. We have to look at this and go, wait a second, hold on. Something doesn't seem right. I gotta take a step back, because why would he say these certain things? Here's another one. I've known a couple of King James. Now, if you're down in the South and the Baptist down here or anywhere else, they celebrate Christmas. I don't. I am absolutely opposed to Christmas, and I've been working on a book about that in my spare time, because back at Christmas time, I made some videos that got a lot of views and a lot of hate, and that's okay. I've got no problem with that. I don't say that, oh, people are mean. That's fine. Not worried about that. But again, where's the discernment of knowing what's right, what's wrong, but the spiritualness behind different things? We don't just lack discernment. I think some have chosen not to even use it, because we don't want to be outsiders. Some people don't want to be outsiders. And some of us are way on the outside. But some believe that these way outside King James Onlyist people are they're these people that are out in the mountains and the woods, and they're crazy and blah blah blah. I'm like, no, I don't live way out in the country. Well, I guess I do a little bit. I live in a rural county, or rural country, whatever you want to call it. I think my town has 4,000 people, I think. I have no idea. But I live by a cornfield and cows. Got a few neighbors down on the road there. But I'm not way out in the middle of nowhere and staying away from things and just want to live like a hermit, because that's not biblical at all. We can get to that whole idea of the whole Christian isolationism, which I did write a book about. Yeah, I'm plugging a book, I know. But I did write that book, The Heresy of Christian Isolationism, which exists. It's not just the Brudendorf and the Amish people. It's regular Christians who have been told this. We need to be out there in the world all the time, spreading the gospel. That's where we're supposed to be, spreading the word the best that we can. We all have different ways that we do it, but as long as the way you're using is glorifying God and not glorifying you in the way you want to do it. Discernment can be an interesting thing. I have written down here, and I don't know why, so let's just go to it. I don't know why I have this written down. Matthew chapter 7, because sometimes I can't remember everything. Sometimes I'll remember, sometimes I won't. And I'm flipping through the pages. And I kind of miss that a little bit. That's the one thing I think I miss about any style of old school preaching, teaching, whatever, is just you pick it up, you flip through the pages. I'm not saying that somebody's a sinner and evil because they put up a computer screen and they, of course, there are certain things I won't use. I will not use Blue Letter Bible. My wife and I twice caught a change on there, so we got to be careful of that. So some people use eSword. I do not. I use Sword Searcher. Brother Calvin, actually, you have in one of your playlists, which I found fascinating. I didn't even know the guy had a channel, but the guy who created Sword Searcher had a channel. I want to say the name is Brandon. I can't remember, so I apologize. Brandon something or Brendan. Brandon? I don't know. All right, I'm looking for Matthew chapter 7. Well, I can go off course here, but that's all right. I always do. I don't mind. Matthew chapter 7. verse 15 and 16. Oh, false prophets. This is when we need discernment. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? And we were just kind of talking about this a few minutes ago. Basically, we don't know what we're looking at sometimes, and they seem right on the outside. They seem right. There's something they're good, they're decent, but there are little things that start happening, and you're like, I don't know, I'm not so sure. Now, I don't ever worry about subscribers or followers. That's the beauty of being at a certain age and not caring. But I don't not care in a negative way. I just don't care because truth is truth and Bible is Bible, and that's all there is to it. Take it or leave it. But I don't try to attack people either at the same time. But there's a young man who does have a channel, and he's pretty good at what he talks about. He's got some good stuff, and there's some other things that I think he's off on, and I think he's using the scriptures incorrectly. But we can all do that. We all, can say that because I don't think he's using that right. But Brother Jorge, he knows, and then I talk about this time to time because it really bugs me. It bothers me because this is another thing that people look at King James Bible people as hypocrites. When he does his videos, some of his videos, he has superheroes behind him. All these little gods, the Thors and all that kind of stuff, and Superman and Jorge gets Jude 1:11. Woe unto them, for they have gone the way of Cain, and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and perished in the gainsaying of Kor. What do you say? I like this verse. I feel like we had a conversation about gainsayers a long time ago. I may be wrong, but I think we had one. But yeah, that's a good verse, actually. I did not include that into anything here. Wish I wrote that down, but I can't remember all the scriptures. Wish I could. That'd be awesome. But then again, that doesn't mean I'd be a saved Christian or a real legit Christian. And why I say that is because my father knew the scriptures by heart, and I don't think he's legit. So I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But I try to look at things through an unfiltered lens. We want to look at our mother or our father and believe that they are truly saved, and we'll tell ourselves anything. But I try not to. I try to be as realistic as possible. I try to be real as much as possible. I don't have a preconception, or I don't approach this with any type of preconception or presupposition of anything. So Matthew 23:15. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees. Yes, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. Yeah, I would agree. I think I was in Matthew 16 when we were talking. I don't know, it was in Matthew 16. But yeah, that's another thing. I mean, they're able to discern all these things, right? Oh, the geniuses and this and that. But what kind of life are they living? And what are they leading people with? I know I'm getting a little off here, but going back to the cool factor, the coolness factor, there's a lot of people sucking in people and calling themselves Christian with these cool backgrounds and these cool videos and these cool lights behind them and these cool trinkets on their desk and stuff like that. They're trying to draw people to some form of Christianity that's based in superficiality. And that's concerning. That is concerning. And I wonder, there's a lot of backgrounds are very strange. And I'm one of those people who look at backgrounds of things, and I look at things behind people, and more often than not, it strikes me. Sometimes I don't see something, but I think it's pretty key because there's a reason behind what they do, like these superheroes and stuff. And I will say this forever: if you're truly born again, you shouldn't be worshiping any tiny little gods or anything like that. That should be gone. You shouldn't be, on your, if you're biblical, anyways, your channel is biblical. You're not showing off your gold and your silver or your guns and your ammo. All these type of things, or look at my giant farm and this and that. All those things are very narcissistic, unfortunately, and those are fruits. I will say this: sometimes you may not even know your own fruit. I mean, you could have made an impression on somebody in their life, and you're not fully aware of it. You're not fully understanding of it. But that's okay. You don't need to know. And every person you ever reach or ever try to give the gospel or gospel track or share the message, any of those things, it's not a big deal all the time. Sometimes it may be important because you may be really in for the long haul with this person. But in other cases, you may just, again, be just the first step in their journey. And they'll be the 15th step down the road, the 12th step program, but in a good way there. But and again, when we're looking at these little gods behind people, all these things, we need to discern what kind of spirit is behind that. Because no matter what good they say, what you see behind them, that's what matters. It's kind of like we look at what, I hate to bring government into this, but the government or the Fed or whatever it may be, what they say and what you see are not all at least the same thing. So what you should be able to see, what you see should correlate with what they say. Because if it doesn't, we kind of have an issue. So discernment is for everyone. We all can discern. We all have the ability to discern. It's how you do it, and are you blinded by things? Are you allowing things to block that? Are you relying on your own view of things? You know what I mean? That has to be how we look at it. I am thinking of 1 John 4. 1 John 4. Let's see if we can get there. Yeah, I know. I take too much time flipping through the pages. Oh, testing the teachings and so forth. Chapter 4, verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. There's a lot of false people out there today. And some of them sound good. Some sound good for a while. Some sound good for a brief moment, but then you finally wake up to it. And then we feel, I don't know if shame is the right word, but we feel shame in the fact that we were fooled into something, or that we bought into something that we probably should not have bought into. We just have to be careful. Anger resteth in the bosom of fools. I feel this point almost every day. That's a natural part of things. Sometimes we get. I look at things that are there's premeditated anger, and then there's spontaneous anger when you're in traffic. I know it's the simplest analogy that I could possibly use, but we get all frustrated in traffic and like, come on, man, but we ask for forgiveness. We're always asking forgiveness because we're always messing up. All of us, me too. It's interesting you should say anger. That's another thing that I have a problem. Boy, I have a lot of pet peeves tonight. I see a lot of these guys out there, and And for born again Christians, they're always angry. There's just so much anger. And to the brethren, or they call the brethren. And I think debaters are usually this way, but I don't understand how you can have that much anger. Only I know how to drive, period. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's Florida. So, yikes. Driving ability in Florida. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. It's a lot of anger from guys out there. And I'm thinking, you call yourself a born again Christian, yet you're just calling people names constantly. And I don't ever see the righteous anger of anything. Just anger because you're not looking at it from their perspective. You don't see their point, or you're not believing what they say. And it's just so much anger. Just and it's always, at the end of things like they go on and on, you're a fool, you're an idiot, how do you see this, blah, blah, blah. And then it ends with, hey, appreciate this. I love you, brother. And this is great. This is wonderful. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the world is this? To me, I just don't see that as a brotherly love. There's no Philadelphia in that. I just it saddens me to see it, because I think there's a lot of infiltration of mainstream Christianity ideas and philosophy and theology, and just all of that wraps in. It's not the way it's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be just yelling and screaming at each other. I'm not saying that you have to be 100% in an echo chamber. I'm not saying that either. I mean, you do have to step outside your echo chamber, and doing that is when you're not talking to believers, and you're talking to people on the street, or in a workplace, or a store, wherever it may be. You're talking to someone who is not on the same page as you, and so there is a discussion being had in there. And they start, and I've yet to see this change. I've said this before. It starts as a discussion. They'll always say, hey, we're just going to have this discussion. And it sounds nice. It really does. But it does not stay that way. It always turns into a debate, because they have got to get their point across. And two people with opposing views are eventually, the gloves will come off, the facade will come off, whatever you want to get, and it is on, and they're going at it. The sparring gear is off. It's gone. You get to take the hat, the little padded helmet, the padded wrists, and well, that would be martial arts, but you're taking all that off, and it's go time. There's no conversation. It's just, hey, listen, if someone can point me to a particular one that it was all civil, and it was never any arguments, and they were never attacking each other and their beliefs and telling each other they're wrong, I'd love to see it, because it's not a thing. It's a debate for a reason. One person agreed with me on the etymology and the origin of the word debate. I'm like, it's what it is. The goal is for a beatdown. But I don't think there's any discernment, though. They're not using discernment. They're looking at it through their own eyes, how they want to see it. They're looking at it from a human point of view, from a human decision-making, human discernment, and not praying for the wisdom of God that we talked about in Proverbs chapter 2:6. I don't think they really are. Maybe there's a facade of prayer. I don't know. Speaking of prayer, just a reminder, Brother Chris is going to be having surgery in a few days on his back. So I know some of you don't know who he is. Brother Jorge, you've talked to him a few times on here. So that's a reminder. Prayers for him as he goes through that. But some people seek out these things. They want to have an argument. They need to have an argument. And usually folks like that are folks who have never had their point of view heard, or they've always been overlooked. They're trying too hard. I just had this conversation with someone at work that women tend to make the worst bosses. And the reason being, in the secular world, women have this mindset that they have to be at a different level, a higher level. They have to be meaner, they have to be stricter, they have to prove that they can do it. Well, the fact that you're trying so hard to prove that you can do something, it kind of hinders your ability to actually naturally do what you should do that's proper and right. It just does. We have that. A lot of people have different complexes, like the martyr complex. I think I'll do a deeper video on this at some point. This discussion of martyr, but there are people who really desire. They have this interesting passion to be a martyr. They want to die for God. They want to. They're dying to do that. They want to, but that is now in the camp of works. This is something you're desiring to do. The martyrs throughout history. Do I have that book in here? I do not. John Fox's Martyrs. We all should have that book. John Fox. I think it might be in the house. Yeah, it's not out here in the pod. Out here in the pod shed. Yeah, I don't see it over there. It might be in my my side table in the house. But they were martyrs not because they wanted to be or they were going out of their way to try and be. They were martyrs on simply doing what they were supposed to be doing. They were just following the Lord. You were right. Nick's stream was a debate argument, not a discussion as he said it would be. And I don't fault Nick for that. It's a lofty goal to believe that this is going to happen, but it always turns out that way. And my guess is it probably started out. I didn't watch it. I told you I wouldn't. It probably started out as a discussion, a conversation. But as the disagreements start piling up, again, bam, it's going to eventually go. You know, it's you keep on filling that 5-pound bag with 10 pounds of sugar. Eventually, it's kind of a bust. And all those disagreement starts happening into that, you know, and it bursts. And that's exactly what probably did happen. I don't think I'll ever watch it. I might try and catch it, although he had a program on this evening that I didn't watch. I don't want to be a martyr, but I want to be a prophet. Who's Nick? Nick is Nick Sayers. I don't usually plug anybody's websites, but what's it called? Revolution. He does a lot of Texas Receptus stuff and TR and Masoretic and Septuagint and Scribner and a lot of different things like that. Does a pretty decent job as far as I'm concerned. I disagree on a couple of things, but nothing overwhelmingly major, except for debates. I disagree with that 100% because I haven't seen it happen. That's exactly what happened. So yeah, it started off as amiable, and then it just turns out that way because it happens all the time. I mean, listen, I'll start off with a conversation with a Roman Catholic person, and all of a sudden it'll get really nasty because there's that beginning part and go, hey, you know, it's like, okay, I'm going to be on my best behavior. You know how when your mom said, hey, we're going to Aunt Susie's house. We're going to Aunt June's house. You better be on your best behavior. But eventually you're not on your best behavior because then you're around your cousins and then you start acting wild and foolish. And then, you know, you're getting yelled at when you get home, you know, and that's what happens. They're on their best behavior. And then it just kind of slowly, that facade fades away and just fades away. Who was the debate, by the way? Brother Calvin, who was he? I don't even know who was the debaters. I haven't checked on it yet. All I know is I saw an update for earlier, and I had no time to watch it for. I don't even. It was an interview with some guy. I don't know who it was. Maybe I'll catch it later. But I'm wondering who the debaters were. I don't know. I don't know who they were. Maybe I'll look it up later. I'd be the worst at a debate. 2 minutes in, it would end with, "Well, I guess you're right." Well, you can't just disagree. Will Kinney, I've heard of his name. Matt Singleton. Now, actually, okay, I've seen him on Nick's channel before. He gets really ramped up. I'm not saying he's a bad guy or anything, but he gets, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about him. I don't have enough time watching him to really, but I'm not, I don't know. He gets really, yeah. He was having a conversation, I think, with Nick about something. I don't know what it was, but he got all fired up. I guess there's a part of being fired up, and then there's like just going off the rails and being angry. And Will Kinney, I've heard the guy's name. I don't know where. I don't know who he is. I have no idea. Whoops. Oh, I just clicked it. I guess there's no easy way to say you're wrong. No, it's true. It's true. That's why I'm not a big fan of debates. Now, a conversation with a non-believer or a Roman Catholic or an atheist or anything like that, it's going to be a debate anyways. What shouldn't be a debate are those who call themselves brothers. It should be conversations. There should be conversations, civil dialogue. Overly zealous. Oh, Matt. Yeah, yeah. To the point where it kind of it shuts me down. I'm like, yeah, I got no time for this. I'm not interested because it's not edifying. I think sometimes when somebody's just way over the top, in my opinion, I get lost. I'm like, I have no interest in listening to this guy screaming or yelling, or I mean, yes, I know in the South the Baptist preachers they get all up and going, but it's not my thing when it's not in a proper context. Excuse me. I find zealousness in younger people too that first saved, and they have so much zeal, so much of it, and it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. It's great having that zeal, but then it's misdirected, it's misused. It becomes off-putting. It becomes a disaster. I think mostly because it's either no discipleship or bad discipleship. So when I see these people just getting all mad, go all angry, and if someone doesn't like them or agree with them, then they go make a video and a rebuttal and this and that and the other. That's all childish. I believe we're supposed to leave childish things behind. Correct? That's my opinion. Not to say I'm not immature sometimes. I'll be the first one to say it. I got kids, so I feel like it's okay for me to be immature sometimes. That's how I'm looking at it. It's one-sided that way. Yeah. I was that way. I definitely have the zeal early on. I've calmed down. And again, it's good to have a certain amount of zeal because it shows you have a little bit of passion as well. You have a passion in what you believe in, and you should never lose that. And someone go, "Hey, you need to shut your mouth to bring it down." Well, okay, to a certain level, but then you get almost like afraid that you can't say anything now. You don't want to be an issue or a problem. That's not helpful in any way. But the zeal, I think, today, before it wasn't pre-internet, pre-YouTube, zeal was easily controlled or easier to control because there wasn't as many not outlooks. There were no out channels to outlets. Thank you, outlets to look dumb. And when I say look dumb, I mean ignorant and foolish. Not dumb because you don't know anything or you have no intellectual abilities. It's your ignorance. And it's not always your fault. It sometimes is. But this is when the lack of discipleship, and I'm not saying I'm some sort of discipler and I can disciple people. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is there's a lack of discipleship. There's a lack of truth. There's a lack of, hey, this is how we do things with maturity. And then, well, Jesus flipped over the tables, so we should be angry. Again, can we use discernment of the time frame, what was going on, why, the context? Nope. We just want to cherry pick something and then twist it to, justify our anger. No. He had righteous anger, I guess you could say, lack of a better word, but he's justified for what he's doing because Jesus, by the way, is God. It's his temple that they're, desecrating with the marketplace. But they use that to say, oh, what I'm doing is proper. That was righteous indignation. Amen. Amen. And then we use these, I call these guys bumper sticker Christians, right? Coffee cup Christians. My favorite saying, and I mocked it for a long time, and I shouldn't mock things, but it was the phrase, not today, Satan. And I often said, is there a day? Because if there's a day, that would mean if there's not today, that means there's a day. It should never be a day. And it becomes a bumper sticker. People love to throw bumper stickers on a car. I'm not saying you can't. I have a couple magnets on there myself. I have 3 magnets. One of them says, if it ain't King James, it ain't the Bible. The other one is be doers of the word, not just hearers. And I forget the other one. Something to do with evolution. I can't remember that bumper sticker or magnet. I can't remember what that says. And no, there's no Jesus fish on the back of my vehicle. I'm not Pentecostal or charismatic. My father has one on his vehicle, the Jesus fish. That Pentecostal is big into that. Charismatics as well. I don't know who else is, but I know they are. I don't know where I was going with that, but we have to stop cherry picking verses. That's where I was going, and using them to justify our bad behavior. And there are guys out there, young people who even have disciples, and they're being discipled by men who apparently don't know what they're doing, in my opinion. I'm not saying I do or don't. I'm just saying when I see a young man making videos and all I see is just anger, just childish behavior and attacks on everyone. And I think to myself, I wonder is their mentor the same way? That there's so much a voluminous amount of craziness. I have one that says he calmed the storm. Indeed, he did. I remember. Well, I don't remember as I was there. I'm not that old, but yeah, I remember. Itchkiss. Yeah. So-called Jesus fish. Yeah. We can go down a whole thing of that. So I don't know if I can pull it up anywhere. You know, the messianic Jews or messianic Christians, or you know who's a good good example? Perry Stone. Perry Stone. You know the false guy there. People fall for him too because he has so much knowledge of Jewish history and Jerusalem. And listen, he's pretty smart with that stuff. Don't get me wrong. Doesn't mean he's saved. It means he's got good historical knowledge. Nothing wrong with having a historical knowledge. I mean, on my other channel, I was just doing the slavery historical stuff a little bit, and only half an hour's worth. I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but Perry Stone has these symbols. Now, the Itchkiss fish there and everything, I was watching an old Dragnet episode. My Achilles heel is, yes, I watch old television, but only 2 shows. Highway Patrol and Dragnet. Highway Patrol, which is funny because my son may want to be a highway patrol. He's a corrections officer now. He wants to be a patrolman, a local police, but he's also thinking of being a highway patrol officer, a state trooper, which I thought was funny because I watched the old black and white TV show Highway Patrol in black and white Dragnet. So yes, I still watch secular TV from I guess from the 1950s and 60s, but those are my and yeah. What can I tell you? We all I guess have that one thing. But in one of the videos, they were going into this house, this new age people, these hippies. They're on Dragnet. They're going to this house of hippies. And what do I see along with all the astrological signs and stuff is the Jesus fish. The Jesus fish. And people will tell you, oh, no, astrology and all that. The New Age doesn't have the fish. They don't have the fish. They don't worship the fish symbol. There it is. There it is. And it goes further back than that. There's a whole history behind it that some of you can do it on your own, but, you know. I listened to your show and thought it was very informative, especially tying most everything to Roman Catholicism. Yeah, here's what I think is going to happen with the. I think I'm gonna. I foresee what is going to happen because I'm a historical guy. I like history, but you'll find that everything ties into the Roman Catholic Church. There was more that I could have gone into with that whole story. And here's the funny part. So I did this show, and by the way, thank you for listening. I do appreciate that. My wife was talking to me. Well, she texted me. I called me at work. I was on break, or I was on my way home, or something like that. Anyways, then she told me that you won't believe this, but in Alex's book, his social studies, they were talking about the delegates, and they briefly talked about slavery, and they mentioned 1619 was the first time the ship, the slaves got here. Not the ships, the slaves got here. And so I asked my son tonight at supper time while we're eating. It says, "Oh, what did it say?" And it didn't say the ship. Didn't really get into details, I guess. So I explained to him who it was in the ship, and I explained to him how it all ties back. But it goes back to 1400, 1200. But well, you listen to the show, and I thought it was interesting that they said that they brought those particular slaves to Jamestown. I just thought that was interesting. But it was kind of funny. They was talking about 1619, so we had a conversation about that. But all evil and all atrocities at some point date back to the Roman Catholic Church every single time. I know we're going a little off on this, but every time. I know that I'll probably, well, I will. I don't know when it will come out, but I'll be dealing with Vietnam. But I'll be dealing with the split of Vietnam and the origins, not just the American origins, but kind of key players in it. And South Vietnam, the president was Roman Catholic. In fact, there was a 1619 ship from Japan that also dropped off slaves on the way to Rome or coming back from Rome, and with the same name, San Juan Bautista, and that was built by Date Masumuni or Masamun, I forget the name, and that was spearheaded by the Prime Minister of Japan, who had converted to Roman Catholicism. So, every single time, there are a lot of things you can go into that go down these roads. Now, I don't know where I was talking about. Oh, I was talking about the Jesus fish. So, therefore, I don't have a Jesus fish, but it dates back a long way. We can go into the whole Dagon thing, but, there's a lot to be said for all of that. But we end up lacking discernment in these things because we just kind of listen to someone up on a pulpit or somewhere who appears to have or sounds like they have it all figured out. And well, I mean, this guy's got a degree. I mean, he must know the truth. Actually, those probably the worst people in the world. Those with all the degrees most often because they're so blinded by the ignorance or of they're so overly intellectualized, but they become inferior in using true proper wisdom and can never open their minds. That's not a New Age thing, but to the Word of God and let the Lord use them. They can't because they're too focused on themselves of all the knowledge that they have and all the knowledge that they've created. What's a Greek word? Gnosis or gnosos or something like that. Gnosis. I'm not a Greek speaker. I'm just saying. I do enjoy the Greek. I try to learn a little bit, just like I would Spanish or French. It's funny when I used to throw my son, my Stephen Jr. I used to throw him in the air as a baby, and I would count to three, and I would go in two different ways. I'd go uno, dos, tres, and I throw him up, and he laughed and everything like that. And then I would go un, deux, trois, which is 1, 2, 3 in French, and I would throw him up in the air, and he laughed because first I would go 1, 2, 3 because it's a rhythm. And then I would say that in French, un, deux, trois, and uno, dos, tres. So, hoping that, hey, he might get a few Spanish words and he might remember them, which, by the way, he knows them both, actually. He can speak both 1 to 10 in French and Spanish. I know it's not a super crazy achievement, but he can, But, God has chosen the foolish thing of the world to confound the wise. Yeah. Amen. They become so wrapped up in, so entrenched in their idea of knowledge and what they believe to be intellectually superior to others. They end up being stupid almost. I was just talking about name calling earlier, because they rely so much on that, they have no idea. In fact, most, I'm not going to say all, but most intellectually astute people that I've known over the years, not that I'm hanging around at every awesome, place that has these people, but they do seem to lack the common sense. I mean, there's an old saying, some have book smarts and some have street smarts. And I think, in my opinion, born again Bible believing Christians have more street smarts than book smarts. And I don't mean the Bible. And I shouldn't be hitting that. But we're not wrapped up too much in knowledge of everything outside of the Bible. We like things, we enjoy things, but we don't blind ourselves to every commentary that comes under the sun, or every new version that comes under the sun, every different way, or how to be a Jew, religions in America, the story of Christian origins, the history of the Jews. What else I got over here? The Gospel according to Rome. I don't even know what that book is there. Let's see what else I got over there. I got a lot of stuff over there. Anyhow, we get wrapped up in that, and that overtakes our knowledge. The Kingdom of the Cults. That's actually not bad, actually. I'm trying to teach my daughter Spanish. Well, that's cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I think people sometimes don't want to learn another language because they go, I'm American, I'm English. Okay, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with learning something different. I have to say, Will Kinney is a great defender of the AV King James Bible, and I've learned many things from him over the years. He's nearly written an encyclopedia on changes in modern versions. I just recognize his name. I don't know who he is. Listen, I'll look into the guy. Anytime I hear a name, I always look into it. More often than not, I look into it, unless I've seen something from them that I'm not interested in. Is he a Calvinist? No. Maybe he's not a Calvinist or a Catholic. I don't know. I don't know why I just thought Calvinism, but I don't know. Well, that's definitely James White. What do they call him? Apologetic now, Calvinism. But there are things that get just a little wild. There's a guy that I'll watch sometimes, that Giorgio Antonios or something like that. He seems okay. I mean, he'll say he likes Peter Ruckman, but then kind of like, he goes, I think Peter Ruckman's pretty good. He's pretty wonderful. But here are my problems. When I hear things like that, I'm not saying I'm a big Peter Ruckman defender, but I'm like, I hear things like that. It's always the same. you really don't like somebody because if you're saying, I think, oh, I love the stuff, great stuff, good stuff, great, good. But here's all my problems. Hey, King James Bible's great, it's wonderful. This is the the James White onlyist crowd. Um, yeah. King James is a wonderful book. It's Bible, great Bible, great Bible. But there's so many problems with it. There's so many problems with it. I'm like, well, it's so great and wonderful, but there's so many problems with it. Get out of town. Yes, he is. But that does not play into the defense of the KJB. I didn't say it did or didn't. I was just popped in my head. I thought it might be a Calvinist. I didn't. I just don't. I feel like I've heard his name before, and I just don't know where. I'm not. I'm not. I'm definitely not attacking someone I don't even know. I've never even heard his stuff or anything like that. But so, well, I don't know why he's debating with Matt Singleton. I mean, well, on Nick's channel, people at King James. I think he considers it what King James preferred, the TR, but the KJV. So I think that's how he's preferred. Is how I think he says it out. I don't know. I was listening to that other kid that I was talking about previously, and he was talking about that there's some sort of sub group of the King James world that are 1611 onlyist. I have not seen this except for one guy that I saw before. Other than that, I've never heard of this, never seen it. You guys will have to tell me if you ever seen or met people who are 1611 onlyists. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I've never even heard of it, never even seen it. I guess I don't watch enough YouTube, but I guess there's a lot out there that I've never heard of. The 1611 crowd, I've not seen it. So, I mean, they're defenders of 1611, but they're not saying, I only read the 1611. I've never seen it, but maybe. I don't know. I didn't even know he was a Calvinist till a year ago and have known him since 2010. Not 1910. That's how old I am. No, I'm just kidding. Never seen that. Yeah, again, it must be a subgroup out there somewhere. I mean, guys like him, I'm not saying this to be offensive, but guys like him seem to have a lot of time to be on the internet and stuff like that and do a lot of that stuff. And that is what it is. But I don't. I guess if I can do a deep dive one of these nights and go AV 1611 and go through every single video I can find related to that and see if there's some subgroup. I've never heard of it. I never knew it was a thing, but it could be. It could be. I know Mark. I know I'm going to finish Mark next week, putting it on the computer because remember I have Mark all done here 1611 to King James. I have it all done on my paperwork and everything like that. All my notes. Now I just have to put them on the PDF file, then bring them up on the computer, and there you go. Yes, there is a person who is a 1611 onlyist. His name is John Doerr. There you go. Apparently, there's a 1611. I saw one old guy that's a 1611 guy, and it was the only word of God. King James Bible is not accurate Bible. 1611 is the greatest. I'm looking for my pen. Hold on a second. I got a pen in my pocket here. I'm gonna write this guy down so I can. I'm curious who he is. John Doerr, 1611 onlyist. That's something you never heard before. 1611 onlyist. I've never heard of that. But I am curious. I'll have to take a peek at him. I've never heard of him, so I can't give anybody an opinion on something I don't know. I can give my opinion, I guess, on guys like Nick Sayers because I've watched probably a half a dozen of his videos, so I've got a kind of good feel of how I feel about him. Like that Giorgio Antonius guy, he's all right. I don't know. He's whatever. Take him or leave him. I think he's too much of an apologetic, but I thought it was unreadable. Well, sir, now you may not know that I've done the videos. I did a lot of the Matthew videos in a row. Then I decided just to make them all in one video because it's just too many videos. But yeah, it's unreadable to a certain degree, but it's readable. The words are all. I would have to say 90% of it is all phonetics. you can get into the italics and stuff like that, but a lot of it, there's not a lot of major changes. Then and them are sometimes changed, or the ye and the and stuff like that in the New Testament. I'm talking New Testament only because that's what I focused on when doing the comparisons. But it is, at the end of the day, when you have words that are phonetic, my 10-year-old is a very, very much a phonetic reader. He reads everything phonetically. Um, so I think that's am I the only one noticing this now? Is my sign look backwards? I've never noticed this before. Well, that's not good. If it's backwards, I gotta change that. Um, John Doerr is not recommended at all. Wow. Well, I still want to. I'm curious. I've never heard of such a thing, so I'm curious. But I've never seen a 1611. Well, I don't own a original 1611. Clearly, I have a small version of it, a facsimile. But yeah, 1611. It's all the same words we got now. I've said this before. Meekness. Let's see the word again. Again. But back then it was AGAI. I'm sorry. AGAINE. Just like old. OLDE. OLD. Things of that nature. It's a lot of it. Like unto. Just takes a little time to get used to the difference of Roman to Gothic font. I have a facsimile too. Yeah, I'll stick with the King James all day long, but yeah, I don't mind opening it up and thumbing through it. I still believe that the King James is the last of the purification of the Bibles. I think it's the best one. I don't think we need any others after that. I really believe in that. I know there's been multiple attempts by multiple people to modernize the King James. All the power to you, but I enjoy the King James Bible. I have no issues with the King James Bible, and if you don't understand a word, you can. There are dictionaries. I mean, like most Baptists, I have the because most Baptists carry this for some reason. The Webster's Dictionary, the 1828. As I leave screen, hold on one second. That right there. That seems to be the go-to of all the folks that are King James, with all the different definitions in here. So, but just look up a word. I don't think it's that hard. It's my opinion. It takes 10 seconds to explain a word to somebody, and there's not a ton of them to do. I don't know, that's my personal opinion, and I'm okay with that. And it just take. Oh, you already said that. I'm sorry. I think Webster's 1828 is the best. I enjoy it, and I think it's got some great definitions. A wonderful job on that. Whether we like Noah Webster or not, I think it's great. I got no issues with it. Some people don't like it, and some people used to love it, and now hate it for whatever reason. I don't know why, but Old English and Old Spanish look the same. Maybe you've seen it, David. David, since you say you also speak Spanish. Hey, you've been working on that too. You've been working on the whole looking at the Spanish stuff, and I think that's pretty cool. I still have not ordered myself a copy of the RBG or even Nick Sayers version. I haven't even ordered that yet either. I keep on saying I'm going to do these things, and I keep meaning to, but I don't. My Mormon coworkers, KJ only. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they have it, but they don't do nothing. But he also has quote apocryphal books. Yeah, Mormons are wacky like that. They go, we read, or of course we're into the King James Bible. We love the King James Bible. We think King James Bible is a wonderful Bible. But if you want the real truth, you read the Book of Mormon. That really gives you the real truth. I mean, the King James is a wonderful Bible, but get yourself the Book of Mormon. I don't know what's on dusty or dirty, the cover of it. Not that I care how clean the Mormon book is, because they are not clean themselves with their many different wives. But yeah, they're a little out there. I still remember the story of those Mormon kids who never showed back up to my house. Well, we had a small apartment. We had an apartment condo place when my wife and I got married. We were living in a condo or apartment, townhouse, whatever they call them. I don't know what they call them. And then we moved in, then we moved in, we rented a house and then we bought a house. But then if you want more truth, you have to read Pearl of Great Price. I don't even know that book. I don't know that. But I know you need to read certain things. I mean, kind of like Ellen White and people like that. You got to read their writings, which I guess this is a night of me jumping off the screen to books. Well, that book is dirty and old. The People's New Testament with Notes. I don't know if y'all have ever seen this. I came across this at I don't know where I was. Let's see. Oh, there's a page missing. I was in I think Sevierville. I want to say I'm pretty sure it was in Sevierville, Tennessee, where I picked it up. And when I see different Bibles and stuff like that, I'm always on the lookout for them. If I don't have it or anything like this, I'm trying to think of when this came out. I'm gonna type this up real quick over here because I'm curious. The People's New Testament. Let's see, the People's. I usually don't do this on the air, but People's New Testament. But and sometimes you can go to different places and you can find these things. You can go to different flea markets, yard sales, a lot of things like that. You just have to be on the lookout because people get rid of things all the time. So Barton Warren, okay, that's who it is. Barton Warren Johnson. I knew what the guy's name was, but I couldn't figure out his name. I forget who he was with originally, but anyways, but the different things are out there. I think they're cool. So, like, I was at an antique Rusty Antiques, I think it was called. My wife might remember that, but I went in there and in fact, that's where I got more what was it? Morals and Dogma, some Catholic material, the confraternity text. I got that at this antique place, and so I asked the guy. I says, "Hey, where'd you get this stuff?" And he goes, "Well, I got more at home." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll bring it in sometime." I'm like, "Okay, I'll have to I'll take a look at it because I've never heard of it." And so he got it from a place in New Britain, Connecticut, some professor at some Christian college. Oh, I'm looking up what you were saying. Yeah, the fantasy book. All right. Yeah. I heard of it briefly. Kind of reminds me of Michael Pearl's comic books in a weird way. Not like the same. It's kind of like, remember the Mormons had the whole remember when God came down in those cartoons? I think you can still find them actually on YouTube. And he impregnated Mary and all this kind of weird stuff, and all of the fallen angels or the Satan's part or something like that. They were all black people. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you won't find any black Mormons because unless they know about the past of the Mormons. But wow, you found Morals and Dogma. Those are rare. They're supposed to be turned in at the time of death. That I didn't know. I got. I also have I think the Mormons one is in a box somewhere. Hold on a second. Let's see. Yeah, the moral. I'm trying to think of where it is. Oh, here it is. Is that it? I think. No, that was a different book. Sorry. I had picked this one up here as well. The Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. It was written in the 1930s. I have that. Picked up that a long time ago. I got the little symbol on the cover. And some will say, "Oh, you can't have that in the house. Bad things will happen to you." I don't give any credence to this kind of stuff. I don't let it control my thoughts and stuff like that. It kind of reminds me of a guy who got mad at me for going into a Catholic church and leaving gospel tracts. He says, "How could you go in there like that? It's got all those statues and stuff like that." And I'm like, none of those statues have power over me. They have power over the people who give power to them. It's just a bunch of crap. It's just plaster and this, that, and the other. It has nothing over me. It's got nothing over me. So I left gospel tracts in that Catholic church. That was a long time ago. I don't know how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. Yeah, I'm trying to find I have an 1880 King James Bible somewhere, but I also have Brother Jorge's always asking me to show books, but I'll show you this one. Y'all might be interested. I have to move rifle out of the way. Boy, this is a very professional show I got going on today. Now this thing is heavy and gigantic. It's got them little buckles on the side. This is the Old and New Testament. It is, I think, Adam. Let me open it up here. Boy, presented to. Oh, there's Brother Jorge saying it right now. The highly requested book tour. I don't usually get into this stuff. It's superficial. This is the one. It's from Dr. William Smith's Standard Bible Dictionary. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, you hold that up. It's old pages. Man, this is heavy. Translated out of the original tongues. Remember diverse tongues. But this is 1876, I think. In the front of Morals and Dogmas, there should be a paragraph or two about not allowing the book into the hands of others. Well, I'm not surprised. Not surprised by that. I'm actually kind of bothered right now. I'm not bothered really, but I don't know what I did with it. I know I didn't toss it out. I got my wonderful Hebrew English lexicon over there. Got the Greek one as well. An old one. I don't know. I'll have to, another point in time, I'll have to pull that out and show you. I don't know what in the world I... There we go. That's what we're looking for. Let's see. I have no idea where I've heard that title before. Morals Dogma. Ah, yes. Freemasonry. Morals in Dogma. There it is. I got this at a... And here's the crazy thing. Whoever had it actually made notes inside of here, which is absolutely wild to me. Talks about Baal, the Bull Lord, Gammon, the Iowa, the name of the Supreme Being. Somebody actually wrote this, their own handwriting, which is just bizarre, just crazy to me. And here you go. There's the front page there. Well, it might be up backwards on the screen or not. I don't know. Morals and Dogma. Oh, for the ancient Scottish Rite. I knew I had it somewhere. Laws of Perfection. And the funny thing is this, and we do know it belonged to somebody because there's different writings in there. So whoever had this Morals and Dogma obviously belonged to some place, and which was just unbelievable. Like in the first sentence, it's called force, but it actually says psychic or psych. So yeah, it's amazing to have this. I think it's not amazing. It's like, ooh, it's awesome. I have Morals and Dogma. It's so cool. I don't mean like that. I'm like, it's wild to see some of this stuff. That's why I look for them. I have no idea where I've heard. Oh, yeah, you just said that. I'm sorry. But when I saw it, I could not buy it. It was right there. I'm like, oh, this is great for looking up and doing research with and seeing it from their own books. Yeah, no individual will receive profits from it except the agents of its for its sale. It's been copyrighted. So this might be a reprint. I don't know. It's years ago. But yeah, it talks about morals and dogma. And look at this. It's wild that these satanic people, which didn't even realize they were satanic, but look at all the stuff. I mean, this guy studied it like we would find certain preachers or even ourselves that have all these line items in the book in our Bible and different chapters when we make notes. I'm like, these guys made notes and they were serious about it. That's the wild and crazy thing, to be so deceived and to look at someone's viewpoint. And when they say, people make a big deal, it's not what it means. They don't worship and this and that. But you're looking at some guy. To me, this is proof positive that this is satanicness. Not that we would doubt it, but this person is writing in there. What's it? IOA, Bull Lord, the Bull Lord, Gammon, talks about the three knocks, hidden voices. Well, what do we got here? I found a King James Bible on a place that used to be the Elks. Yeah, you were telling me about that. Elks Lodge. The pictures I found were creepy. People in the robes and funny hats with those necklaces and rings. It was built in the 1920s. We were just rehabbing the building. I'm telling you, the stuff is there. Truth usually comes out, and you can these type of things will show up at some point. That you just have to wait for it to come out. Talks about evolution, useless eaters. What a weird thing. Those who are not of the aristocracy are useless eaters. So I think, in a weird way, I don't think everybody needs morals and dogma. I don't think that's an issue. I think some people, for guys like me, I'm not making justifications why I should have it, but I research stuff like this, and I'm always looking for things, and I connect things, and to show people, I'm like, hey, this is some crazy sinful stuff, man. Are you crazy? Do you even know about this? Like, oh no, so you get to confront people who don't have an answer for things, and it's not because you want to be smarter than them or better than them. You're trying to help. You're trying to say, hey, listen, do you realize what's there? It's kind of crazy. One of the stories I think I'll be doing down the road on my other channel is the fact about the Guidestones, the Georgia Guidestones. I think you all know how it got blown up at one point, and a couple of years ago, I forget when it happened, to be honest with you, a year or two or something like that. But it got blown up, and I think they tore the whole thing down, if my recollection is correct. But I was looking at the county that it was in, and this is what I do. I look behind things. That's just who I am. And the county was actually established by someone, but the second lodge, the second temple, whatever you want to call it, was in that county. The first being up in New York, I think the second one, or the third one, Chicago, but the second one, the first of the southern part of the United States. And that guy who founded that and was a member in the county and stuff like that, he went back to England. He was a Freemason who went back, came, established, went back. So I think it's useless. It's useful information. Eugenics now, Planned Parenthood called certain classes of people useless eaters. Yeah, because that's fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating. So let's look at how that ties in. That is, I've never heard that. I believe you. Looking for the sentence. There we go. Yeah, ignorant people, looks like. Let's see. So I don't know what it's actually talking about, but the populace has two mothers, both of them stepmothers, ignorance and misery. For the appetite alone, they crave satisfaction. And there's a note here that says that these are useless eaters. I don't know what that was. Just reading it. I don't know. I'm reading this part for the first time to you guys here. Wow. Useless eaters. Shouldn't it? And there's a note here that says, shouldn't it be great that evolution will continue to march? Wow. That's insane. But anyways, Planned Parenthood, yeah, she was all about eugenics. Hitler was too. Actually, some Greek philosophers, I believe, were into that type of thing too. People who shouldn't be alive, that'll waste the space, so to speak. Um, but like I said before, I think some of the stuff is important to have. I mean, I have New Age books over there. I have the which I read a little bit, never got around to reading more of it. The Bhagavad Gita, the Buddhist thing there, Hindus and stuff like that. But the reason I have these things is because I know that I'm going to use them in conversations, or I'm going to use them in research at some point. Um, when I have to deal with people that are probably into it. That's the only time I think outside stuff is important to learn, because you're able, not only are you able to bring them verses from the Bible and explain things, but you can get their frame of mind, understand, and you say, "Hey, did you know?" And well, no, it doesn't, and you're able to show them. That's why I love having evidence sometimes for those who are agnostic. I'm like, here it is. This is your system, and I think it's important. And people say, "Oh, where'd you get that up? A Wikipedia?" And some people do. There are some people who say, "Well, I looked this up on it." I'm like, "Well, that can't be real. You don't know. That's on the internet." But this is a printed form book. This is imprinted. Just like I do. I've said this before. I have one of the original copies, original printings of Booker T. Washington's Up from Slavery, because I think it's important to have an original copy, so where it's not changed. I didn't know M&D used that phrase either. Well, neither did I, but there it is. And it talks about Baal and stuff like that. So it's satanic. I mean, clearly. I mean, you can't. Nah. I think that guy David Daniels does a good job on Baphomet. I think the artist of Baphomet was connected to Albert Pike somehow, or something, or something like that. I'm not sure how, but unfortunately, people get wrapped up in these things and they're unable to use discernment, or they lack the ability to discern because they're trusting themselves to make these decisions without prayer, without going to God and saying, "Lord, I need direction. I need someone to show me the way." Elias Levy, is that the artist? That's probably the artist that drew it. I don't remember the guy's name. I apologize. But we're not able to discern. And these guys cannot discern the spirits at all. Why? Because they're not saved. They're not born again. They have no Christianity within them. You know, I mean, they're false. So then they don't have the ability, because they're not relying on God. So they have no ability to discern the demonic spirits that come from this. They don't, I shouldn't say come from the book, but come from the following of this. They lack discernment. And some choose not to discern because they don't care. They don't care to. Calvin, yes, okay, it is okay. Uh, I think sometimes, we wish people would discern better. Now I got all these books in a pile next to me now, but we have the ability, if we allow ourselves to discern. You know what I'm saying? We have to stop relying on ourselves. We have to. The natural man is not going to see the truth, and if you're saved, you will eventually see the truth. You just keep yourself in prayer and continuously ask for direction. Continuously. The moment you stop asking, we got an issue. But who gives wisdom, true wisdom, but God? And sadly, there are some Freemasons in the pulpits today, especially Southern Baptists. So here's my problem with the term Southern Baptist. And I'm not trying, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to defend Baptists like earlier you were talking about Will Kinney. We're not defending Calvinists. But not every Baptist preacher is a Freemason. And I tell people there are Southern Baptists who are just Southern. Then there are Southern Baptists who are part of the Southern Baptists, like the Billy Grahams of the world and stuff like that, who, as we know, and I think Billy Sunday as well. I think Moody might have been as well. But they're just regular guys who are Baptist preachers in a little podunk town. And when I say that, I don't mean that insultingly, but it's an old terminology using the word podunk, just the middle of nowhere that aren't part of any Freemasonry. But yes, there are many in the Southern Baptist realms that are and have been Freemasons. Obviously, Billy Graham, as I think we all know anyways, is a Freemason, or very closely associated with them. The Billy Sundays, I think, it was as well. Moody, possibly. We can go down this whole list. We can assume that Jimmy Swaggart and Jim Baker is too. That's how I look. Yes, the organization called SBC. Listen, what wasn't Rick Warren part of that at one time or whether? Who runs that now? I think some guy named Al Mohler, I think, runs that. I think, right? Am I right there? I think that could be it. But yeah, anybody connected to that, it's kind of like the Assemblies of God. There are churches with these individual names now, right? The Relentless Church or whatever it may be, who are actually associated with the Assembly of God, but they don't take the Assembly of God's name. There's also churches down here because remember, Church of Christ is huge, very huge down there. Church of Christ is big time, but they've been around a long time. There's two strains of it. Church of Christ being the Campbellites, if people know the terminology, Campbellites. There was two strains, Kentucky and up in Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania, that area. So there were two different areas, but the well-known version of Church of Christ is the Campbellites, and they're huge down here. But they'll have Church of Christ down here, but they'll have these little offshoots like the House of Prayer, and then you see affiliated with Church of Christ. So Church of Christ has these little satellite churches, so to speak. So you got to be careful because people are like, oh, they're not Church of Christ. They have a different name. Same person. The current president of the Southern Baptist Convention is Clint Presley. He was reelected for a second term at the 20. Okay, I see. I don't know. I thought there was a guy named Al Mohler who was a president there. See, I don't follow them, so I haven't followed or read about them or learned about them in a long time. It's been a while, so I guess I'm wrong. There was no Al Mohler. I thought there was an Al Mohler, but I guess there's not. I don't know. So I guess I'm wrong. Now I wonder who Al Mohler is, though. Why that's in my name, my brain. But there's a lot of craziness. But I do believe there are little tiny churches with solid people, Christians. There is an Albert Mohler. There's an Albert Mohler. I'm wondering if this is who I'm thinking of. Lakeland, Florida makes. Oh, he was a president. He was the 9th president. Oh, you're telling me that now. Al Mohler used to be president. Okay, he used to be. Okay. I'm a little behind the times, I guess, on that. Yeah. Okay. Lakeland, Florida. I feel like that's got some other bad connotation with it. There's got to be somebody else from Lakeland, Florida. I don't know who, but anyways, Florida's got some crazy stuff going there too. You got. Sorry, brother Calvin. You got Al Mohler. Brownsville. Remember the Brownsville revival? That was also in Florida. That was more closer to my time frame of being in the Pentecostal church. I can't think of the guy's name. I can see he had black hair. Remember? I remember that guy came back from England and supposedly had the anointing and just touched you and whatever. That became big, and I saw that happen in the Pentecostal churches. I can't remember the guy's name. I want to say Kirkland. But his last name was Kirkland, I think. I could be wrong. I always think I'm right, and then I think I'm wrong in the names. But Kirkland might have been his name. But that was big, too. They kept Brownsville. That was when you started having the Toronto, laughing thing and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so Lakeland is in my brain for something. Um, I see Al Moeller here, but I don't see anything in the. I don't know, but wasn't Al Moeller part of the ESV committee or something like that? But anyways, um, I'm not sure who the blasphemous Lakeland revival who ran that. I don't know who ran that. There's a lot of crazy things. We just had a repeat of the one out in at that Methodist college out there a couple years ago. Um, I think it was Methodist. I forget what the college was, but they had one in the '60s too, I believe. Ironic. Um, oh man, but you'll have to tell me who the Lakeland Revival is, who ran that show. There's a lot of false revivals that happen. Um, there's, I think there are well-meaning revivals. I think there are well-meaning tent places. I think they exist, but I think most of them are not legit, as far as I'm concerned. But man, Lakeland, Florida, I gotta know who that is. Lakeland. Now you're gonna make me look it up because this is gonna bug me because I'm talking, but in the back of my brain, I'm thinking of the Lakeland Revival, some Florida. Todd Bentley, isn't that the guy who kicks old ladies in the face or something and punches people? And he's a crazy man. In fact, so what's interesting about Todd Bentley is I believe he's got that whole jerky motion thing that the people do and start flipping out, the whole Kundalini spirit thing. Um, yeah, Todd Bentley, and yeah, it's got the whole jerky motion Kundalini spirit. But what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about Todd Bentley and his church. I think, if I'm not mistaken, his, or at least at one point, his organization was in the lobby, or the church was in the old lobby of the Heritage Park, which was owned by Jim Baker. Now, obviously, Heritage Park, again, Pentecostal upbringing, a sinful upbringing, and I remember that being a destination, kind of like the Disneyland of that time frame. Um, yeah, definitely satanic. Yeah, he is definitely satanic, no doubt about it. But I think his church is held in the lobby of the old Heritage. I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong in this, but it's in the lobby of that the Heritage Park, or was anyways, inside that lobby, the entrance way. Because a lot of the rest of the park's not in existence anymore. I think some of it's been torn down, and some of it's been made into housing. I think some of the cabins and stuff like that, and things like that. But yeah, Todd Bentley's a wicked man. He's part of that whole NAR, or I think he was the Bill Johnson. Oh, there you go. As I speak, as I spoke, you right as I said it, you pointed up this. Yeah, the whole the whole Bill Johnson crowd and all that. Those are wacky people in there, and he was anointed by guys out of Toledo or somewhere. I think not Azusa Street. I can't remember what it's called. I don't know. Not Azusa Street. IHOP, International House of Pancakes. I think something like that. IHOP. That's what I remember, but I could be wrong. Oh, it is IHOP. Yes, IHOP. Okay, it is IHOP. A lot of wicked stuff over the years, and a lot of the stuff. And here's the thing: people have no discernment. You know why people don't have any discernment of the spirits in here and the demonic spirits and what's the Holy Spirit, demonic spirits? Is because they're not saved. They're just not saved. I'm sorry. I would say, if I'm going to take a wild guess, 98 to 99% are not born again Christians, and those who are probably going to this thinking something, and then they're gone after that. Like, whoa, something's crazy. I could see how they kind of fell for it in the 80s because it was kind of new. The Oral Roberts fell for it. Kenneth Hagin. Again, these are people that I'm aware of in my growing up, my generation. So, well, my father's generation, but people names I know. The John Hagees, the Kirkland guy, and there's another guy who takes sides with James White, and this is how you know James White is messed up as well. Michael something, and I can't remember. I want to say Michael Brown. Michael Brown, I think is his name. He also backed up that other Todd guy. Well, Michael Brown was actually shouldn't be any surprise because he was also part of the whole Brownsville satanic mess, all that kind of stuff. So he has background there. So clearly that's obvious. We got issues there. I think Michael Brown is false all day long. But a lot of these men are. That's why I say a lot of you godly men, I think sometimes you're just not going to know who they are because they're not out there going, hey, look at me. Yes, I have a YouTube channel, but I'm like, it's just men who are out there and doing what they do every day. I think that's important to know. But yeah, these guys are messed up. I don't know how we just went down this road, but yeah, Todd Bentley and all of them, and IHOP and Bethel, Bill Johnson, and it's funny about the golden sprinkle things that supposedly fall from the ceiling. I remember hearing a story about this when I was a kid at some of the other places, and I think some of that type of behavior or ideas also came from Azusa Street with the whole Pentecostal thing. And although people say that's the beginning of Pentecostalism, I'd say you have to go even further back to Dowd. I think his name is John Dowd, and I think he had a mentor that nobody talks about because I can't remember his name either. Was into that stuff from Australia. So, it's been a lot of time. Not sure, but I think a lot of stuff started with the Azusa Street Revival, and it goes back actually, believe it or not. Like I said, John Dowd. John Dowd actually founded a city up in Chicago, or in the city of Chicago, up in Illinois. I think it's called Zion or something like that, Mount Zion or Zion City or something of that nature. It still exists today, actually. It's kind of like down here, you have Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where the bomb was made and all that kind of stuff. And now nobody even knows the history of Oak Ridge down here. Oh, it's just a city. But again, not understanding background, origins, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, John Dowd goes back to Australia, actually. Australia, Pentecostalism, I think you can actually get that from the Methodists too and the Quakers and they were into all the shaking and all that kind of stuff. But you get the Kundalini spirits. So a lot of that stuff exists. I don't blame the Hindus and Buddhists by themselves because demonic spirits will go into any type of religion anywhere. So, but the Kundalini spirit's probably the most well known of all of that. But Australia had to play. Sorry to brother Nick there who lives in Australia. But they've got some interesting things up there. Yeah, I want to say his name is John Dowd, who, when we really go backwards, and some guys up in New Hampshire where I'm from. Well, I'm from Massachusetts, but Vermont and New Hampshire, some guys up there in Maine. Frank Sanford, Frank Sanford, I think his name. He was a mover in that time frame as well. I think he got arrested for sodomy, actually. It's not John Dowd. I thought it was John Dowd. So I'm wrong on that one. I don't know. But yeah. Now I'm not going to remember the name. In fact, he would wear these robe type things like the Pope and people like that, and the Pharisees and stuff like that. But you have to just keep on going backwards and backwards. You got William Seymour. William Seymour was the black gentleman who supposedly here the spirits came in, smoke and stuff like that. Smoke was pumped into the room. Dowd, I think it's Dowd, and I'm gonna have to do some research. I've had this information a long time ago. Yeah, I'm not going to look in my files right now. I have a file cabinet over here. I think he's in there. I'm not 100% sure. But a lot of this stuff goes. Remember, so the guy who, like the William Seymour, the black guy there, his mentor guy was not Frank Sanford. Um, Parham, Charles Parham. Charles Parham was a Methodist. That's what I mean. Methodists and Quakers had that whole shaking thing and the whole and stuff like that. And that's you get roots in Methodism, and that's where Charles Parham was from. But that's not who I'm thinking. I'm trying to think of the guy because it goes back to. But I'd have to I could be here all night. It's 2 hours in. Let me look this up. No, I don't want to look this up, but I do all at the same time. Oh, okay. Dowie. Dowie. All this does tie into discernment, spiritual and otherwise. Well, you have to recognize, I think it does. I mean, you look at these things and you have to discern what's going on and what's the crazy thing. But TY, thank you. You're welcome, sir. I think that's what it means. Yeah. So if you go to John Dowie, yeah, he was in the late 1800s. Let's see. Yeah, he had a ministry in Australia and New Zealand. That's what it was. He was in, and that's where he began, or where he got his whole way of things. He was over on Melbourne and stuff like Melbourne, Australia. There's a guy named Abbott that taught him. So he has history going back that far. So, yeah. So, and he is Zion. That's what I was looking for. Zion, Illinois. That's what he founded. In fact, crazy note here. So, one of the people that were connected to John Dowie, and now I forget his name. It's JJ something, or he's got these weird initials, but he was actually one of the co-founders of the Assemblies of God. Not Dowie, but Dowie was the I don't know, the Grand Master of Pentecostalism, I guess. But and I can't remember the guy's name. It's not FF Bruce. I don't know why that name came to mind, but it's like that. He's got a name like that, but he was one of the co-founders of the Assemblies of God. So, and that we were talking about earlier. So a lot of these things have roots to things. They all go back. Methodism is involved in them. Catholicism gets involved in it, and that's kind of, listen, call me conspiracy guy all you want, but everything always leads back to Rome, the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican. Well, Vatican wasn't always the Vatican. The Vatican didn't exist until Benito Mussolini made the deal and gave him the land, and then he got all that area, which the empire's on. In fact, the popes, before they got a Vatican City, the popes used to use what? Does anybody remember? They used the actual location or the home, or however you want to look at it, that the emperors used to sit in. Coincidence? I think not. That's why we all know that Rome side shifted. You got the Vatican, or the Roman Catholic Church. I love how when you hear people say Christianity, they always say Catholic. Yeah, the Roman Catholic Church, Christianity. No, that's not Christianity. But anyways, but then we went out the location. We went out the trail there for a bit. But yeah, Alexander Dowie was yeah. He had a tabernacle called oh my goodness. Oh, it's Catholic Tabernacle or something like that. Or the Catholic Apostolic Church, I think it was called, or something like that. Y'all can fact check me on that if you want. But yeah, he's was heavily involved with that. He was a very wicked man, but they were all wicked people, wicked people. And I think people in Pentecostalism or charismatic, well, charismatic is actually, that whole movement is probably closer to Dowie than the Pentecostal church that I grew up in. I don't think any of those people knew. I really don't. A lot of people probably did not know. They were just a bunch of, Holy Spirit people and holy rolling and all that kind of stuff, and wore their three-piece suit and tie, and your mom wore a dress, and men wore suits, and that's how it was. But they don't really know the way before Azusa Street. Some will know about Azusa Street and the Holy Spirit and how that came to be. And one always has to ask a Pentecostal person about the tongues. How did all this go missing for years and then just suddenly show up one day? If you believe that they spoke in tongues way back in the Bible, they spoke different tongues, and but they were all Meshach, Papa. You believe in that, but it was missing for so long. But suddenly it happened after Azusa Street. I don't think they use a lot of knowledge because they're not discerned. They can't discern. They can't discern the spirits. They don't discern the demonic spirits and the holy spirits and their own human intuition and their human approach to things. They're not. They don't, because they're not truly born again. They don't have the gift of discerning spirits, not discernment. Discerning spirits. They couldn't even use discernment at all. But yeah, the new crazy folks you got out there, there's a lot of these people now that are like doing the whole generational curse breaking thing, and all these type of things, healings and casting out demons. They're doing exorcisms like they're Catholics, like they're the Roman Catholic Church. But they're closer to Dowie because of all the craziness and all the cultist behavior and stuff like that. That's closer to Dowie, the new charismatic Pentecostal offshoot, than the 80s Pentecostal. I think the 80s Pentecostals were closer to the indulgences of the Catholic Church. Remember, send me tithes. I think it was Oral Roberts, and I could be wrong, who said on TV or his show there, send me $1,000. God said he'd kill me or take me or whatever, and people obviously sent money. A lot of wicked people out there. So that was to me, that was more closer to the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, than the early Dowie situation. How we got here, I'm not sure how I'm down here all of a sudden to the Dowie end of things. But yeah, he was a wicked man as well. John Alexander Dowie. Frank Parham or Charles Parham or Frank Sanford. Forget which one of them, but they got arrested and charged for sodomy. Because there was actually laws back then. There were sodomy laws, which is kind of wild to think about it. Now we don't have that anymore. There's no law against them now. Now they just blatantly do it out in public nowadays. It's wild. It's a crazy time. But without this discernment, we can discern these things. And you could be fooled by things briefly. But like in 1 Corinthians 2:14 that we talked about earlier, I do believe if you're born again, you may not see something right away, but you should in time. You should, things will expose themselves over time. I honestly believe that. I think the truth eventually comes out. People might say to me, "Hey, why don't you attack that person or rebut that?" I'm like, "You should probably say something." Why? But why? What do I have to say something for? Because time is going to expose. I have to have patience. I'm just, I got to sit back and have patience because vengeance is not mine. I ain't got to worry about it. They'll get their rewards. They will be given their rewards, their earned rewards. Believe me. And that's how you have to look at that. I see we're 2 hours in, and I'll tell you, I didn't plan on doing 2 hours. And of course, I never plan on anything. I just kind of roll with whatever I roll with. But I think I'm hoping some of this was edifying and fruitful. It was for me, actually. There's a few things I learned in here, and so I'm thankful for that. I'll have to look at that Pearl of Great Price, the fantasy. I'll have to relook at that. I think Michael, I was thinking when you talked about that, I was thinking fantasy. I was thinking of Michael Pearl there, who wrote the comic book thing or whatever. The fantasy comic book. I don't know what it was called, but I know I had it at one point. I don't know if I still do or not, but Oh, I learned today about the useless eaters of Planned Parenthood and morals and dogma seem to have in common. There was something we learned today. Some more evilness from those folks. Interestingly enough, Margaret Sanger actually grew up Roman Catholic. I'm not saying she was always Roman Catholic, but she did grow up Roman Catholic. So um, I don't know if that plays into anything. Look at Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin was going to be a priest. Pol Pot was going to be a priest, or was it Ho Chi Minh? Ho Chi Minh might have been. I forget which one it was, but Roman Catholicism has had its dirty little hands into everything, you know. But all right, I personally I'm getting a little exhausted, so I'm gonna say thank you. I gotta get up tomorrow. I got stuff to do tomorrow, more than I want to do, but like some things have to get done. So I do appreciate, as always, you guys being here. I do. I really do appreciate it, and I'm thankful for what y'all bring to the table because, like I said, I just learned a couple of things tonight, so that was awesome. Um, if you ain't learning something, what's the point? I guess if it's not well, I shouldn't say just learning something that's edifying, that is useful, and I think that's the most important part. But all right, with that, thank you everybody. I appreciate it, brother Calvin, brother Jorge. Again, just a reminder on brother Chris. Those of you do know him. If you don't know him, I will also say to pray for him. Um, and his back surgery coming up. It was for me to sanctification is not immediate and does not take time to discern. Nothing's always immediate overnight. Some things are, some things aren't. But if you can take the time, brother Christopher is a good guy, a good man. He's had a long journey in life. He's been through a lot, and to be back and trying to uh, uh, get back to God, and he's made his mistakes and he's repented, and he's just a good guy. He's just I like that's all I got really. But yeah, pray for him and his surgery coming up in a few days. I think it's on the 3rd, but yeah. All right. Thank you again, everybody. And I will talk to y'all if I don't talk to you somewhere along the way in the week. Now, see you. Talk to you next week. And that's when I'll awkwardly sign out. God bless and good night, everybody.